I've read that that mouth breathing causes a decay in our abilities to breathe out of our nose, much the way not exercising causes a decay in muscles and leads to atrophy of muscles.
Yeah, great point. So our nose is one of those organs. If we don't use it, we lose it. And so going back to your original question, is if somebody's feeling restriction as they're breathing in through their nose, first of all, it's normal to feel more restricted breathing through your nose compared to your mouth, because there's resistance. And that resistance comes from the intricate structures called turbinates. And these turbinates actually function to pressurize the air. We heat the air, we moisture regulate the air, and we prepare the air to go into the lungs. So you should feel a little bit of resistance breathing through the nose. If somebody is a habitual mouth breather, then they're going to feel even more resistance because they haven't been using their nose as much. But over time, what ends up happening is the more they consciously breathe through their nose, the airways start opening up. So our body recognizes that and it starts adapting as it should. If somebody has chronic allergies or food sensitivities or other functional reasons or dysfunctional reasons why their breathing is not that great, then of course we want to address those. We want to address food sensitivities. We want to cut out dairy. For many people, that can be a problem and make them stuffy. We want to identify if there's toxins in the air like mold particles or other particulates that are causing them to have allergy-like responses. And there is a breathing technique that you can use to open up the nose as well. So a couple of things that people can do. One is a neti pot. So using a neti pot consistently, which is basically a special type of pot with a water salt solution in it. That'll help cleanse out the sinuses. Another thing that people can do is use a breathe right strip. So this is a strip that just goes over the nose and it allows for more air to come in by expanding the nostrils. And it's a gentle, non-invasive way of doing that. The other thing that people can do is a nose clearing exercise. So nose clearing exercise is really simple. You would take a deep breath in, let it out to a relaxed exhale, and then plug your nose, close your mouth, and then you would move your head in. It's kind of hard to do it on the interview, but you would move your head in all kinds of different directions. And then you would release the breath when you can't hold it any longer. And doing that 3 to 5 times usually instantly unblocks somebody's nose. So there's ways that you can actually do that by manually.
So you said take a deep breath in, hold it, plug the nose. And then...
So you would take a deep breath in, relaxed exhale. So you're not blowing the air all the way out. You're just letting the air out enough so that you don't feel like you have to breathe in or out. And then you would plug your nose, keeping the mouth closed, and then you would move your head in all sorts of different directions. And usually within 3 to 5 times of doing that, the nose will open up. It's like magic.
Okay. Is there a mechanism to that has been explained to you, or is it kind of an...
That's a great question. That's a great question. I think it's because of the increase in the CO2 concentration. So the body is like, we're not getting enough oxygen. And so it finds a way to open up the breathing airways for you. Okay.
So in summary of those points, you have people that will have trouble breathing through their nose if they have environmental allergens, food allergens, eating a lot of mucogenic type foods, possible mold exposure. Those are all good things to rule out if you struggle chronically. And then if you don't have those issues and you're eating well and doing things and you still have problems, this is an exercise you can do. A neti pot is another potential tool that can be used to kind of clean and unclog the sinuses. Okay. So now we have the sinuses that are open. Let's talk about some practical techniques maybe that people could walk away from this show using today that might help them with different aspects of their health. I'll let you take that into consideration and share with what you want to.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So all progress starts by telling the truth. And the best person to tell the truth to is yourself, because then we can progress even faster in our journey towards health, healing, finances, whatever our goals and objectives are. So the upper limit of our metabolic health is actually how we breathe unconsciously, which means how we breathe at night. So what I encourage people to do is download an app. It's called Snore Lab, SNORELAB, and it's there's a free version of it. I believe they have one on Android as well. And what you're going to do is you're going to actually record yourself while you're sleeping. So recording yourself while you're sleeping allows you to better understand what your breathing mechanics are like, and rather what your breathing restrictions are while you're unconscious. This is one of the first things that we like to change for people, because if they're, this is some interesting information. So when you go down this rabbit hole, you start learning about how problematic this is. So about 65 million Americans snore at night. I estimate that number is actually quite higher. About 20 million have apnea, which means they have life-threatening breathing issues while they're sleeping. And so, this is a huge issue, and it changes our it changes so many things. There's apnea and disordered breathing at night leads to dementia. There's research that supports that. It leads to dental issues. It leads to erectile dysfunction. I mean, there's like hormone deficiency. There's so many things that contribute to it. And so understanding how you breathe while you're sleeping is the first step, because that's something that we need to work on improving, because it's an unconscious behavior for 8 hours straight. I don't know if you've heard anyone snore before, but I know my grandparents used to snore really loud. And one of the things that happens as we age is our airway collapses. And so, when our airway collapses, because it's like a muscular tube, right? When it collapses, because we don't use it the way we used to, then it restricts our breathing at nighttime. And again, there's a whole cascade of things that happen there. So Snore Lab is a great way to record yourself. 3 tips to help you reduce snoring if you do find that you are a snorer. One is sleeping position. Sleeping on your left side, so with your right side up, is going to be a favorable sleeping position to enhance circulation and prevent the airway from collapsing. I like using a supportive latex pillow. I use a Talalay latex pillow. As a side sleeper, it gives me enough support, and it's a great way to stay in a comfortable position at nighttime. The other thing I encourage people to do is mouth tape. So putting that piece of tape, that little strip, is going to be a powerful way to ensure that you're breathing through your nose throughout the night, and it's going to significantly reduce the likelihood of snoring. So those 3 things can make a huge difference. It's remarkable how much better people feel simply the next day because they chose to breathe better while they were sleeping. Your snore score, it should be less than 10. So anything above 10 requires attention. If it's over 100, which it can be for some of the people that I work with, then we definitely want to work on bringing that down. And there's tongue exercises and airway strengthening exercises that you can do. I'll leave that for another day. And we have a tool that we can share if people are interested, because it takes about 20 minutes to explain those exercises, but they're really simple and they can help with enhancing our breathing. An interesting thing about snoring, and you'll appreciate this, Dr. Osborne, is certain nutrient deficiencies and hormone insufficiencies cause our tongue to enlarge. So anemia of B12 and iron will cause a swelling of the tongue, as well as thyroid insufficiency. So somebody who has low iron, low B12, and perhaps even layer on top of that, they have thyroid issues, because you need iron and B12 for thyroid hormone as well. Guess what? That person is going to feel tired all the time, right? Because they're more likely to snore at night, and they're also deficient in these key nutrients and hormones that give them energy. So if somebody's kind of stuck and their energy isn't moving the way we want it to, then assessing their nighttime breathing is a great tool for them to do that. So that's nighttime breathing. And this is like something that doesn't get a lot of attention. People don't talk about this a lot because we don't even know we're doing it. And so that's one place that people can definitely start. The next thing that people can do is becoming conscientious of daytime breathing. So how are you breathing during the day? Breathing through our nose is going to be ideal and optimal. Now, in addition to that, we want to consider posture. So our tongue posture is something that's actually crucial to our health as well. So we want to place our tongue gently at the roof of our mouth with the tip of our tongue behind our front 2 teeth. That should be the resting posture of our tongue. What that does is the tongue, believe it or not, is actually a postural muscle. So it holds the front of our head up, alleviating stress in the back of our neck and shoulders. And what it also does is it energetically closes what's called a mudra, which is an energy center in the body. What the tongue does in addition to that is it acts as a spacer. So the tongue's purpose is multifold. It serves as a postural muscle. It serves as a spacer. So this helps us have a nice wide palate. People who are mouth breathers, their tongue falls to the bottom of their mouth. And what you'll notice with them is they have a narrow upper palate. A narrow upper palate leads to smaller sinuses, and it leads to a smaller airway. And that could be restrictive later on in life for people. A sign somebody has a small upper palate is that they have overcrowding of their teeth, or they've had several teeth removed and braces put in because their jaw was too small to receive all the teeth that they had growing in. So breathing through our mouth is detrimental for so many reasons. So we want to breathe through our nose throughout the day. Now that we know how to breathe, the cadence at which we breathe is also critical. So the cadence that I found and the research shows that is most calming to our nervous system is about 6 seconds in, 6 seconds out. So what I like to have to practice this is I have an app called iBreathe, and it's just basically a 6-second timer. It dings every 6 seconds. So it tells me when to inhale and when to exhale. I actually use this when I'm exercising as well. So as I'm exercising, I'm trying to maintain a breathing cadence of 6 seconds in and 6 seconds out through my nose as much as possible. So daytime breathing is huge. The other thing that we can do is we can access special breathing techniques. If we want more energy, there's ways that we can breathe. If we want to calm down, de-stress, there's ways that we can breathe. And so I can share a few of those techniques if you like, Dr. Osborne, and maybe we can give people some simple things that they can take away.
Yeah, I'd like that. Can we back up though for the cadence breathing, the 6 seconds? Yep. And so if what you're saying and what I want to make sure I understand is that if you are just in your day-to-day and you're breathing, you're saying that ideally taking 6 seconds of inhalation followed by 6 seconds of exhalation is going to be more efficient. Is it going to deliver better oxygen? Kind of help me understand why 6 seconds? Like, is there a reason behind that? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, is this I've read that the monks, and I've read that other like Indian tribes, and that like all these different cultures all over the world had their mantras that they would chant, like their ohms, if you will, that were approximately 5.5 to 6 seconds in and out. And that is taught in many cultures, but we've lost it in the US today. It's like a lost art. Breathing is like a lost art. But is there like a scientific reason that of 6 seconds for those analytical minds who just are like, this is spiritual, hokey pokey stuff? What's the reason? And if I had a reason, maybe I would take this seriously. Not that I doubt that it's true, but I know what some people are thinking.
Yeah, absolutely. So a cadence of 6 seconds, I mean, you'll instantly feel it. That's the beautiful thing about breathing is it's so easy to measure the effects of it. So if somebody's got hypertension, as an example, you can just tell them, hey, breathe normally, whatever that means for you. And then you can put them in a 6 second cadence. We call that coherence breathing. That's what that breathing technique is called. So you can put them in a coherence breathing pattern and you'll see their blood pressure drops and in many cases normalizes. So people don't have an issue with blood pressure. They have bad breathing, or they have incoherent breathing that's causing their nervous system to be in a slightly fight or flight type of state. Because if we're breathing shallow, that actually signals our body that we're under stress. Whereas when you're taking slow rhythmic breaths, intentional breaths, and 6 seconds in, 6 seconds out, you're not taking these full inhalations and exhalations, right? You wouldn't breathe like that normally. Just like when you're walking versus lunging, right? When you walk normally, but when you're lunging, that's a whole different thing. So think of deep breathing like lunging, and think of normal breathing like you would when you're walking, or an equivalent to walking. So a 6 second inhale, a 6 second exhale is going to calm our nervous system down, and it also increases oxygenation of our brain. So studies have shown that. And so we want to be in a state where we're calm, where we are more receptive, where we are in more creative centers in our brain, and we have the ability to do better work. So if I'm sitting down and I'm doing work, or if I want to receive information, then I want to be in a state where I'm coherent, versus and parasympathetic versus being in fight or flight. There's an interesting phenomenon that James Nestor talks about, and it's called email apnea. So just like when people are staring at a computer, they stop blinking, their blinking rate goes down significantly. Their breathing rate also goes down significantly. And some people actually stop breathing when they're checking their emails and things like that. So how we breathe affects the type and the quality of work that we do. And so having some gentle cues and reminders like a soft ding in the background can be a great way for us to find that cadence. And what happens is our daytime breathing carries forward into our nighttime breathing. So if we breathe nice, 6-second breaths during the day, then we're going to have nice, slow, rhythmic breaths at night. But if our breathing during the day is unconscious and erratic and all over the place and short and shallow, well, that's how we're going to breathe at night as well.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was asking for. I like that you tied that into so many different improvements and connections, the blood pressure connection, the tapping into the sympathetic nerve or the parasympathetic nervous system, because that's a problem for a lot of people, isn't it? They're in such fight or flight with their lifestyles and maybe their chronic illness, and they're rubbing essential oils on them, and they're taking ashwagandha, and they're doing all these other, other helpful things, but breathing is free. And that's why I'm loving this conversation.